The Ram Temple donation theft case, well, it's no longer just about a few arrests. It began as allegations of irregularities in temple donation. It's now expanded into a probe involving bank officials, digital evidence, senior trust functionaries, and demands for a CBI investigation. So, where does the investigation stand today? So far, 8 people have been arrested, but investigators now say the probe is far from over. Police have revealed that nearly 70 to 80 people are under the scanner. Notices have been issued in phases. Statements are being recorded, and investigators are trying to establish whether this was the act of a handful of individuals or part of a much larger conspiracy. The money trail is now under the spotlight. Police have sought details from several banks, including the State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, and Canara Bank. Investigators are examining bank accounts, lockers, and financial transactions linked to the arrested accused, the trust, and others connected to the case. Then comes the digital evidence. Police believe crucial chats may have been deleted from the accused person's mobile phones. Those devices are now being sent to the Forensic Science Laboratory, FSL, where experts will attempt to recover erased data that could reveal how the alleged conspiracy unfolded. The investigation has also reached the trust itself. Former General Secretary Champat Rai has already been questioned by the police. Investigators have indicated that if required, statements of other senior trust office bearers will also be recorded as the probe progresses. At the same time, the legal battle is gathering pace. The Supreme Court of India on Monday declined an urgent hearing on a petition seeking a court-monitored CBI probe, observing that heavens are not going to fall, quote-unquote, if the matter is heard after the summer recess. The petition will now be taken up in July. And then came another dramatic development from Ayodhya. The Faizabad Bar Association has announced that none of its members will represent the accused in court. It has even warned that any lawyer who takes up their case will face a 5 lakh rupee penalty. The Bar Association has also demanded action against former trust office bearers and is planning to approach the court seeking registration of a case against them as well. Meanwhile, the Ram Temple Trust continues to maintain that devotees' donations are safe and properly accounted for, rejecting allegations of any large-scale embezzlement. But the questions refuse to go away. How far does this alleged conspiracy actually go? Were these isolated acts, really, by a few employees? Or do the investigators uncover larger systemic lapses? Is the ongoing SIT probe sufficient, or has the case reached a stage where CBI investigation has become absolutely necessary?
जो चढ़ावा चोरी कर सकते हैं वो हमारा वोट चोरी क्यों नहीं कर सकते, सांसद क्यों नहीं चोरी कर सकते, इसलिए हमें बहुत सावधान रहना पड़ेगा.
Now we have Arun Anand, author and senior journalist, joining us. Thank you, Arun, for taking time out to be with us. We also have Sunita Aaron, senior journalist, with us. Thank you, both of you, for taking time out to be with us. Arun, let me begin by asking you a straightforward question that's on the minds of just about everybody. Can this be an act of just a few individuals?
I think no, it could be act of the few individuals also, or it could be a larger conspiracy. I think the SIT report will basically, make it clear. And I think the SIT report so far, they have begun the next level of investigation.
Do you think there's a need for a CBI probe? Let me begin with that actually, at this stage.
No, I don't think there is a need for CBI probe because the SIT so far has acted pretty fast. They have also arrested 8 accused. They are not trying to cover up. The Chief Minister himself has assured that nobody will be spared. And the second level of investigation has begun, and they have acted rather than trying to. Many a times the special investigation teams are set up to cover the event, but I think in this case they are actually trying to uncover the thing. And if Supreme Court had found that SIT was not acting properly, they would have reacted to it, and they would not have postponed the petition which was seeking CBI probe after the as you mentioned in your remarks that so they have said between July 12 to July 17 they would be hearing that, because everybody in the country, including the Supreme Court, is monitoring this situation very closely.
Fair enough. Arun Anand, Arun Anand seems to believe that the SIT probe is doing enough as far as this matter is concerned. And if the top court of India believes that there is a need for a CBI probe, it can take the decision at that time. I want to begin with your initial thoughts.
I personally feel that eventually a CBI probe will be ordered.
Okay.
They'll have the initial probe done by the SIT, and once they have the reports, I think the Prime Minister and others would want things to be very, very clear, and they might order, there may be a CBI probe later on. Having said so, in fact, the SIT started the probe pretty late, and they are doing fine. They have been able to pick up 8 people, but there has to be some more people involved who may be the big fish, whether they'll be able to lay their hand. Sometimes what happens, people do trust Chief Minister Yogi. This is something very interesting. You ask anybody in Ayodhya or elsewhere, they'll say, we trust Yogi. He will take swift and, he will take action again in this case. But there will be people who will be, raising doubts over the investigations done by a 3-member team of the state government, because they are the officials, and the chief minister has been going to Ayodhya regularly. And already the opposition is saying when he was visiting Ayodhya twice a week, how come he didn't know what was happening, the pilferage? Somebody should have told him that this is what is happening. And the BJP leader says he came to know about it, and it is at his behest that, the investigation started, the entire thing has come to light. So I have a feeling, not immediately, but eventually, it's such a big matter involving crores of people and their faith, it will go to CBI, but not immediately.
Okay, it will go to the CBI, but Arun Anand, I want to bring the focus to, you were talking about the court-monitored CBI probe, but look at what's happening with the Faizabad Bar Association. There is nobody willing to defend any of the accused in the matter.
See, it has happened earlier also in many, such similar cases. I'm not saying, as far as the temple is concerned, but in many cases, like, when Nirbhaya case had happened, so the lawyers had taken a position, that nobody will defend the accused. So whenever such an incident happens where feelings and trust of a lot of people get hurt, so lawyers, they are not only purely professionals, they are also human beings, many, and they are also devotees of Lord Ram. So it's a very natural thing, though I have a slightly different opinion. I incidentally happen to have not only a graduate but a master's degree in law also, though I'm not a practicing lawyer. So I think there is this growing tendency of doing the media trial. We are seeing. I'm not drawing a parallel, but what is happening
Fair
in
enough.
the Siagoel case, or what happens in other cases. There's just a trial which people do on social media and media, and you pronounce it guilty. So I think we need to, as a society, also take a look at it as professional bodies. Everybody has got a right to have a lawyer to defend. Of course, if even if they don't allow anybody to defend the accused, the court will provide them with legal aid or legal help, and ultimately they will get the lawyers. But I respect the decision. It's a collective decision. They are free to take that decision, and I don't think we can see it from the perspective of right or wrong, because in such incidents a lot of things fall in the gray area.
Okay, a lot of things fall in the grey. Sunita Aaron, then, where does one draw the line if all of it falls in the grey? At this stage, there is a very strong sentiment. It began as a bunch of allegations. Now the matter has reached so much that 8 people have been arrested. Some of the top officials of the Ram Janmabhoomi Tirtha Kshetra Trust are the ones who are under the scanner at this stage.
Look, when we were talking about the lawyers, now let's look at the background of the lawyers. If you see, they have really, really contributed to the movement. They were in Ayodhya, and their sentiments are very much there, and that's why they have come out with this type of resolution. Earlier, also in 2005, when there was a terrorist attack on the makeshift temple, the lawyers had refused to take up the case, represent the accused. So it's basically the issue which is very close to their heart. and they have played a very active role. I remember going to Ayodhya and meeting a whole lot of lawyers who were talking about Ram Mandir and its construction and the salient points of the legal battle. So one is that. Now, where would it fall? It's more, it's a huge amount which is involved. Like, if I'm correct, about 80 crores came in 11 months. Then there was a huge amount in the fixed deposit whose interest came. Besides that, there may be other donations also which we are not aware of. People are coming forward and claiming, I'm not saying they are right, but they are claiming that they had given braids, they had given crowns, they had given jewelry. That has to be, now the entire money trail has to be investigated. How much was given? Where it is like somebody told me, the bricks, they melted it, the silver bricks were melted, and the silver is kept in the locker. Now, there may be so many things of which we'll find the answer. It's the money trail. But having said so, it's not just the money part, it's the faith of the people that needs to be restored in the system that manage our temples.
What is the way forward, Arunanand? Because everybody is watching this, because the levels of public faith, interest, trust as these investigations unfold. What do you think needs to be the steps immediately? Because the questions being asked right now are not just what has been what we know so far. The questions are that, is there are these just isolated acts or just by a few employees? Is there a larger systemic problem?
See, we need to have a standard operating procedure for managing the big temples and the big religious places. I think that is basically what needs to be done. And we have seen that. I was listening to your opening comments that in this other part of the program, you're also going to talk about the Sabrimala
Yes, of course.
temple. This thing there also, and we have seen things happening in case of prasads were kind of contaminated, and a lot of things have happened. I think what we need is, because this question is actually largely linked to it, you might say that this episode is kind of a blessing in disguise also, but because there has been a big movement going on that the temples of Hindus belong to Hindus and they should be handed over to Hindus and they should be able to manage them. So this brings us to at that crossroads of that, whether we are ready as a society to manage these temples. So there needs to be kind of a standard operating procedures, robust mechanisms which ensure that there are systems and processes in place and which are implemented in every temple. And there needs to be, I would say, a public private partnership kind of a thing. The government, I'm not in support of government completely withdrawing from this thing. The government needs to have an oversight, because unlike other countries, in our country, these religious places, a lot of money is involved, and a lot of donations come in millions and kind of millions of rupees. So I think that is the way forward, is to develop standard operating procedures so that these kind of things do not happen, and regulatory mechanism needs to be put in place. But also there should not be too much of intervention or too much of interference by the government, because I also want to point out Sunita ji is a veteran journalist. I've been following her since her she was also president editor of Hindustan Times in Lucknow. So I've been tracking her because I've done 2 books on Ram Janmabhoomi. So I did take a lot of help from her writings also. See, the
You
the
want to come
problem
in?
is that I'll just mention a small point.
Okay.
There is a feeling that bureaucracy is using this opportunity to ensure that it takes the complete kind of control of the Ram Janmabhoomi Trust. And we know that there's a general sense that bureaucracy in our country tries to take control of every institution, especially the IAS officers lobby. We have seen what Nripendra Mishra has said. You yourself are a part of the trust, and you are pointing fingers at other people. So it's a clear right, and it's a typical bureaucratic. Lot of many commentators are saying that it's a lot of typical bureaucratic thing, that you stay away from this thing and deflect the responsibility, and then ultimately a case is being made out that, oh, people from the public life should not be there, it should all be handled by the bureaucracy. I'm saying this is also one of the streams of thought which is going on. I think Sunita ji would be able to comment probably better on this.
Sunita, you want to come in?
Yeah, today we are talking about religious tourism. We are talking about people don't go anywhere; they go to temples, and like when they come to UP, they come to Ayodhya, they go to Kashi, they go to other temples also. And similarly, when they go to Uttarakhand, they go to 3, 4 temples together. Now, point is, when you have religious tourism, people are spending money. Not only the area develops, but they get huge offerings. We certainly need SOP. Why there has been no complaint from Kashi? Why there has been no complaint from Mathura, where Banke Bihari, which gets lot of offerings, jewelry and everything, I think they had a better system than what we had in Ayodhya. They had the involvement of the magistrates, the CCTV cameras, the digital supervisions. Everything was perfect, perhaps better than what we did in Ayodhya. Now, having said so, it is for the government now to think about it, how they are going to, have a proper system wherein the offerings are not only collected properly but are also utilized properly. Now there are books which have been written on temples, and there are history says that the donations were offerings were used for various welfare schemes, which is happening in south also, in west also. Here so far UP was not getting so much of offerings. The offerings were not so big. It's only after Ayodhya and Kashi they've started getting it. So definitely, I have a feeling that uh, the government will come out with some, you can say, SOP, which will be a mix of the government officials as well as the private system. For example, in Ayodhya, what I'm told is that the frisking of the money handlers was done by a private agency. Why? The counting in Kashi and other places was done in the supervision of a magistrate. And there you have to have a system where responsibility rights come with accountability. Once the accountability is fixed, then it will become easier. And Ram Mandir becomes, because I don't know why 400 years of agitation and then one controversy after another controversy. It's a very sad state of affairs. It's very unfortunate. But yes, as my colleague, my participant was saying, that maybe it will come as a blessing in disguise, and now the government will come out with systems that would help.
Okay, final thoughts before we wrap up this conversation. Arun, Anand, for all those watching this, what would be your message? When they're following this case, when there's been so much passion and faith that has gone into this temple, which is seen as a historic milestone, and when a scandal like this erupts, it puts people in a very, very, in a state of mind that keeps them contemplating so many things.
I think it's a time of introspection for both the government as well as Hindus, as a society, that what we are going to, how we are going to run our religious places. And as Neetaji rightly said, whether we can turn temples into actually hubs of, the, in a spoke and wheel model, which are used to be in the ancient times, that they become the source of, kind of social development, economic development in the area around that, or are we going to basically get involved in these controversies? This has to be done. A lot of faith is, because the faith is involved, feelings are involved. So I think going ahead, we need to, it will take some time to become dispassionate,
Okay.
dissect it, and then do the needful, but it will take some time.
Time is the healer, as they say it, and time will take its course. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Arun Anand, author and senior journalist, Sunita Aaron, senior journalist. Thank you both of you for taking time out to be with us here on In Your Interest.